comment on the sign situation. We just want you to know, despite Bill's, what he found, we are not the board that can answer any of your questions. You may, of course, make your, Ann, can I finish? I'm just trying to make it. You may, of course, make your comments, but we cannot rule or give you relief. This situation should play out within the next couple of weeks. We'll see what happens. As you may be aware, the planning board is holding their meeting on Monday, the 26th, at which time discussion will be held and debated within their guidelines. I would suggest that those who are aggrieved attend and listen to the debate. If you don't want to do that, then our bylaws allow you to file an appeal with the zoning board of appeals at a cost, which is why we're suggesting you at least wait until the planning board meets. In addition, I am limiting public comments tonight to 3 minutes for each speaker, except for Bill.
Why was Bill given more time?
One time only, unless there is additional information that you can add. Please be patient, everyone can speak. Loud outbursts will not be tolerated, nor will disparaging comments addressed to individuals. Just want to have a good meeting so that everybody can hear everything without yelling and screaming. Anything to add? Okay.
I will add something. My understanding, the planning board are not the enforcement agent here. The planning board received a complaint from a private citizen. I'll leave it to you and your opinion on that, and your own opinions on that, but they received a complaint from a private citizen. So they're compelled to act on that. Their way of dealing with it was to hand it to the enforcement officer. The enforcement officer is the building inspector. The building inspector made, as far as I know, an independent decision to do what they did. So the agent that put this into motion, responding to the complaint, was the planning board. So the planning board, I spoke with Matt Carlino last week, and he assured me he was going to speak to Buck, and that the building inspector would be there. I don't know, I would say, call the planning board and see if the building inspector is going to be there. But that's going to happen first, and there can be full discussion. In the interest of full disclosure for myself, I had a sign taken from my lawn, okay? And on my sign, I measured, was outside the 25 feet, even if that's an issue or not an issue, I'm just saying that that's the case. For me, if it ends up coming back to this board, I want to be able to act on it, if it comes to that. So tonight, I'm not gonna have any comment one way or the other on the actions of the building inspector, because I want to act impartially and objectively, and I don't want to be disqualified from acting on this, should it come before us. And if I have to fill out a 23B form to say that I have a conflict because my sign was taken, I still want to be able to act on this. So I'm not going to have anything to say about this tonight. But if there is a hearing on the 26th, then I would encourage everybody to go. And I would also like to say that I've been following this closely. My phone has been blowing up with phone calls. And I just want to commend those citizens of Lee who have actually done some heavy lifting, done the research. They've acted constructively. They've got a lot of information they brought forward. And I hope that can all come to light at the planning board meeting. And I'm actually very proud to be a resident of Lee, and to see how citizens have taken responsibility and acted proactively to deal with this. That's all I have to say tonight on the subject.
Okay. So, Josh, you've had your hand up, and then Ann.
If I could just say one thing real quick, because I think this is a clear First Amendment issue, and I just want to say, to support anybody's right to speak freely, or, but that goes with both sides. So when there's an opinion that isn't favorable to you, and there's a sign up that isn't favorable to you, those signs don't deserve to be tampered with, just like the no dump sign. So deserve to be tampered with. And I'm sorry, Bill, about your historical commission, those signs, it wasn't just society, my mistake. It wasn't just no dump signs that were taken, it wasn't just historical society signs that were taken. A lot of different signs were removed, so this was across the board.
No worries. My name is Josh Bloom. I'm a town rep in District 5. I live at 204 West Park Street. I want to first say that it seems unfair to limit other people's time to speak when you gave Bill more than 12 minutes and I asked to be on this agenda and you rejected my.
I don't think we rejected
You
you.
did reject it.
We had a discussion.
You did reject it. I came to your
Okay.
office, I spoke to you, and you rejected it.
Okay.
So, if I may, I want to also say that Chris is BJ Church's supervisor. And he is responsible as her employer for her actions, and he should be called to task as her supervisor. And so while I can excuse the select board from it, you have a responsibility as her supervisor. I want to know if you have shared the letter from the ACLU that you received today with the select board. Yes. Okay. For the record, I will read it into the record for everyone to hear. It is dated July 20th, addressed to Dear Town of Lee officials, Ketchum, Britton, Church, and Dowd. We write to you in your capacity as representatives of the town of Lee. And they say, we ask that you also share a copy of this letter with members of the Select Board, Planning Board, and Town Council. In the footnote, about recent and apparently widespread infringements of the fundamental right of free speech and to urge the town to take immediate action to address the situation. The American Civil Liberties Union of Massachusetts, Inc. has become aware that in the past several days, Building Commissioner Church and Building Inspector Dowd confiscated numerous signs from residents' private property, including but not limited to signs expressing their views on the highly controversial issue of creating a dump for the PCB-related materials in or near the town. This action was apparently taken with no prior written notice to individual property owners in violation of section 199-7.6F of the zoning code and basic principles of due process. It was also taken in spite of residents' constitutionally protected rights to express their views on matters of public importance on their private property without any need for prior authorization of the town, subject only to reasonable regulations as to the size and location to the extent such regulations are relevant to public safety. Moreover, it apparently involves the town taking and misappropriation of personal property without due process and trespassing on private property. And this, in the footnote, is supported by eyewitnesses, corroborated by response to public records requests, confirm the names of individuals who confiscated the signs. We therefore urge you in the strongest terms to take immediate action to return all signs confiscated from private property and to issue public apology for the seemingly gross violation of residents' rights.
Excuse me, Josh, just your
yeah.
3-minute drop, but finish your
I'm
letter.
going to continue because I asked to be on this agenda.
No,
and you
I'm
didn't afford
asking
get
you
an
to
opportunity.
finish the letter. I'm letting you,
Yeah.
like,
Legal background. As an overview of the free expression principles indicated by the town's conduct is contained in a prior letter, open letter to cities and towns, which I've also submitted to the planning board. Under constitutional law, government regulations that forbid signs or require residents to obtain prior government permission, e.g. a permit to express their views on matters of public importance on their own private property are unlawful. The Lee zoning code implicitly recognizes this principle through its exemption to permitting requirements for political signs, but does so in a manner that is too narrow to satisfy the constitutional muster. For instance, it is too narrow because 199-7.c defines a political sign to include only a sign designed to influence the action of voters for the passage or defeat of a measure or the election of a candidate to a public office at a national, state, or local election. Indeed, the sign at issue in the leading case of City of Ladue versus Gilio, 512 U.S. 43, 1994, which is emphasized in our open letter, was a sign expressing a non-electoral political view for peace in the Gulf. It is also too narrow to provide sufficient constitutional protection because 199-7.7 states that political signs as narrowly defined can only be posted for 20 days prior to and 5 days after voting day. As explained in our open letter, and as was at issue in a 2019 case against the City of Holyoke, such limits on electoral signs prohibit too much speech at the home and are also a content-based restriction in violation of Reed versus Gilbert, 576 U.S. 155 in 2015. The zoning code is also too narrow and discriminatory on the basis of the content of the regulated speech because political signs can only be 4 square feet, which we note the signs at issue here apparently did not exceed. While other types of signs, including various commercial signs, can be larger. See examples 199-7E and G and 199-7.8. We have also seen communications from the building commissioner purporting to justify the removal of these political signs from private property based on varying assertions that were too close to public property and or did not have the homeowners' names on them. As to the setbacks, we see no general rule that signs on private property have to be some particular distance from private property, as opposed to specific regulation requirements applicable, for instance, to construction signs or for rent or for sale signs. 199-7.7E and G, in any event, it is highly doubtful that any rule prohibiting homeowners from using the full extent of their property to express their views would be constitutional, absent a determination that a particular placement caused a real public safety issue with regards to traffic safety or other issues. Similarly, we see no Town of Lee rule requiring that each homeowner put their name on any sign expressing their political views, and indeed, such a rule would likely be unconstitutional because the town does not have a legitimate interest in knowing who has posted signs on private property, and residents have a right to engage in anonymous speech. Compounding these clear free speech violations is the utter lack of due process in recent confiscations of signs. Recognizing due process principles, 199-7.6E expressly requires a written notice about any alleged unlawful sign and provides 20 days for the resident at issue to correct the situation or appeal. Multiple people have reported to us that no such notice was provided before their signs were confiscated by town authorities. As some residents have noted, if proper notice had been given, they could have pointed out the lack of basis for the confiscation and or adjusted the signs to come in conformity with any duly promulgated and constitutional limitations. Conclusions. For the reasons stated above and more, we urge you within 48 hours or less, return all signs confiscated from private property, issue individuals and public apologies for this abuse of power, suspend further unconstitutional applications of the zoning code, and revise the code to come into constitutional compliance. Failure to do so could expose the town and individual town employees to liability under state and federal civil rights laws, particularly given that loss of First Amendment freedoms for even minimal periods of time unquestionably constitute irreparably injury, as in the case of Elrod versus Burns, 427 U.S. 347, 374, 1976, and that's signed by a bunch of lawyers. What I want to add to that is, I want to know, as BJ Church's supervisor, what have you done and what are you doing? I also want to know why the farmers market was able to have 4 signs returned to them without fee, while other townspeople were not afforded that opportunity upon request, and why there was a bias in the signs that were collected and not collected. There were no signs that were collected about graduating seniors. There were no signs that were collected about supporting our police, and yet we have signs that were collected around a range of other issues, but clearly, based on the number of those signs, we could say that there was a bias of determination of what signs were going to be removed. So specifically, I'm asking our town administrator as her supervisor, what have you been doing to supervise her actions in these cases?
So, I mean, I don't have a problem answering it. What I do want to avoid is getting into back and forth. This is a time for the public to comment, so I'll try to be brief as I can. We did receive the ACLU letter today that Mr. Bloom just read, and the information in that is certainly helpful. We may very well be in a position tomorrow, perhaps, to respond in a way that is affirming of the 48-hour suggested deadline that they've set for all matters, with the exception of course, the zoning bylaw amendment. That's not a promise. This is something that is under review, certainly. However, with that lone exception, because a town meeting is required, and a 2/3 vote, and to say nothing of the lead time that would be needed to make the revisions and recommend them and hold a public hearing, which is all required in advance of town meeting. Aside from that item, we may very well be sitting here on Thursday, perhaps not in this room, with a remedy that could be satisfying of the contents of the letter. That is.
Thursday?
Yes, because today's Tuesday, and 48 hours from Tuesday would be Thursday. That's not a promise, but it is a possibility.
How would you issue the statement?
Want to raise your hand, please? Dee,
Thank you.
do you want to get up?
No, it's a quick question.
I don't know the answer to that.
Thank
I'm
you.
sitting here right now.
Thank you.
And
Again, I apologize. I did want to answer Mr. Bloom's question, but I want to be respectful of the time that I don't see the fruit of having a back and forth here tonight. But I thought it was a fair question. I feel that it's been a fair answer.
if I just could interrupt you, I'd like to start the 3-minute thing.
Sure.
Now.
Sure, as best
As long
we
as
can.
we had a big letter.
As best we can,
Bill,
absolutely. My name is Ann Langless. I was given this by someone who can't attend. Her name is Carrie Swift Heck, who lives in Lake. Town workers stopped at our house today on July 15th, and we're in the process of removing our Black Lives Matter sign, presumably to put in the trash. I happened to see this happening and was informed that our sign is not allowed. No signs are allowed on the parts of lawns that the town has right of way on, she was informed. We have to keep our signs 25 feet from the road, which Brendan, I believe is her husband, promptly did. Meanwhile, there are plenty of congratulations, graduation, real estate signs right up on the road all over Lady. I've seen only one other sign on our street that's been moved back, not a Black Lives Matter sign. I called the town 5 times today with no answer. Is the right-of-way different on other streets? Did someone call and complain about my street specifically? Is this some political ploy that one PCD side or another has stated? Someone please give me valid responses to this, because the town driving around throwing away Black Lives Matter signs with no warning or even a knock on our door is really racist. Shady look, and I'm trying to talk myself down from this infuriating state. P.S. The sign stays. Ordering a banner for the side of the garage. Hashtag haters unwelcome. Update, still Carrie Swift Heck. The town did call me back. Someone made a complaint about the PCB dump signs. And now the building inspectors are out removing all unpermitted signs that are on quote-unquote town property. Whoever made the complaint has made a lot of people angry. It's insane. Small town politics. I ordered my banners. Rachel Cannon, fortunately, we were there and they did that. The response was that they were moving about 100 signs today and they are technically on town property. In parentheses, she writes, that I sure am I'm taxed on. Carrie Ann Swift. Ann Langless, is this really unfortunate? He knew the bylaws and used them against one specific group and made a lot of people angry. Farmers market and craft fair signs were removed. It's absurd. BJ's response to Rachel's email about the optics of removing a BLM sign was diplomatic. no signs were removed. The truth is that my sign was not removed only because I was sitting on my porch. Also, until I posted on Facebook and was privy to this information until I called the town manager. The building department never responded to my call, even though they were the ones I was told to call. I was under the clear impression that the town was throwing away my BLM sign because someone complained about it. It's really bad optics for the town of Lee, and I think someone like Tom Wickham would have the foresight to know that not only the signs he wanted removed would be removed. It's extremely disappointing and certainly won't help this cause. Last paragraph for her. Please feel free to share my post and my comments. There is no doubt she was going to take my sign was in the city truck. It's also infuriating that the response was that no Black Lives Matter signs were taken. It was clear that if I was not sitting on my porch, they would not be able to be able to say that. I'm 89% positive it was Ryan Dowd. And to be fair, she was perfectly polite when she stopped. When we stopped her from taking it and allowed us to keep the sign. She clearly saw how infuriated we were, and my husband asked her point blank if she saw how bad it looked to take a BLM sign. She told us to call the town building department. They never responded to my call. Only Chris Ketchum did, who was also quite sure that no BLM signs were taken. The whole thing is absurd. Carrie Swift Peck. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm supposed to give this to you guys. If you could copy those, it would be great. I didn't have it on.
Yes. Can't go take it.
I'm not sure.
Hi, thank you. I'm Peg Garden. The Historical Society sign, I want to give a disclosure, was taken from our yard, at 42 Park Street. Just as a disclosure, so if I have to, I'm also on the planning board, so if I have to do a whatever, I would do it, or if I can't vote on it, then someone would have to sit in my place. So I'd like to, just say, I do hope this can be settled as soon as possible. We've been told sometimes on the planning board, we are not the enforcement, agent. And the agent is the building commissioner, and we've also, different times, not specifically on this particular case, but said you have to make a complaint in writing, do it in writing. So I really hope this can be settled as soon as possible, because it's extremely divisive, for the town of Lee. And I hope it can be settled very, very soon. Thank you.
Is there anyone before Ann? Because,
I'd like to speak for myself at this point, not Carrie Heffigan.
okay.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Ann Lanos. So over this past course of the past week and a half or so, I have myself personally emailed BJ Church. I have forwarded all of my emails through Cindy, through Chris Ketchum, also to our town clerk. I also forwarded those emails to the ACLU. So part of that response was Josh, was myself, Josh, some other people who had not gotten answers. And so within 6 different emails, I repeatedly asked the same questions, which I know you're aware of, which were, what is the exact violation? Are we gonna get our signs back? Will there be a fee attached? Just basic, simple questions. And from those responses, from BJ Church herself, not one of those questions was answered in 6 emails. Instead, I got back from her that she was upset how people were saying things about her that were lies, that she had served her country well, and that she had educated herself well. My point being, if she was this educated as she says she is, she would have been updated on all the information out there that she could have gotten on her own before just arbitrarily being a judge and jury, taking all of our signs. Now, I just watched, I don't know, twice probably, the Lennox Select Board meeting from July 14th. Chris Ketchum, you were there. And you were helping the Select Board make a decision about changing the role for the current building enforcement officer, which we share with Lennox, which is BJ Church. And so how is it that you as the town manager, I just want to be able to understand this, that you can have that open conversation and forum in Lennox, where you're employed in the same position as you are in Lee, and that over there you are still BJ Church's supervisor, that she was hired by the selectmen. So my guess is she can also be removed or fired by the selectmen, or yourself, I'm not sure which. And I know of 3 people, personally my friends, that all put in, and that Patty denied them to have this subject put on our agenda. All due to that you personally felt that it wasn't part of your purview.
What item are you talking about?
That we wanted to talk about the signs, the removal of lawn
I
signs.
didn't deny anybody from talking about the sign.
You denied me.
Yeah,
Not me.
yep.
I didn't deny anybody.
You denied
You
me.
said you would not put it on the agenda.
Yeah, you're refused.
You told us to go to
I
the
thought it
family.
wasn't an agenda item, because we can't do anything.
Right, you say that you can't do anything, which is fine,
Are
but
we-
you don't know prior to us asking for an agenda item what we even want to say about that,
Okay,
okay?
okay.
So that's very wrong, as a position that you're in, as a
So the
select
same
board
thing would
member,
happen is
and
what's
as a chair,
happening
can
right
I
now.
please finish
Letting you
what I
talk.
want to say? It is wrong for you to tell any resident in Lee that they have no right to have something put on the agenda because you don't know ahead of time what they're gonna speak about, Patty. And that to me is censorship. And that censorship is another funnel of what's been happening, in my opinion, with BJ Church. And I think it would be terrible for you, Chris Ketchum, as your supervisor, to continue to allow this, or the select board to let this continue to happen without either removing her from her position, fixing this immediately as the ACLU has suggested, strongly suggested to you guys, or hire someone new for the position that can currently keep themselves educated, not to violate the rights of the townspeople of Lee.
Monica Ryan, District 6, Town Representative, and I did submit a letter to you, Patty, to have this specific topic put on the agenda, and you wrote me back and said no. So,
I did say that,
yeah, so,
on the agenda.
on the agenda. So we're talking about it differently, but I probably won't need more than 3 minutes, but, you know, I did ask to have this talked about because we're furious. We're just furious. Free speech is very important to all Americans. Every American has the right to free speech. The First Amendment allows us the right to redress our grievances with our government. So when I asked to be put on the agenda, you didn't know what I did kind of lay out what I was concerned about in the letter, but that's a grievance that I wanted to redress. So please don't censor me next time. Think about that before you refuse to put it on the agenda. So I spoke with BJ Church the morning after the signs were taken, and I had a brief conversation with her, and I hadn't learned more about the fact that she really should have given us a notice before taking the signs. I didn't know that when I was talking with her. But she did say that a complaint was filed by Tom Wickham, next select board member, that the signs regarding the dump, they shouldn't have been out there. So that's why she went and did that. But the complaint was filed by Tom Wickham, and I explained to her that I thought it was ironic that she took down all signs apparently, and I didn't realize how far-reaching it was. Shame on her for taking down the Historical Society signs when they're having this lovely exhibit, and shame on her for taking down anything else that was not, dump related. She was still, all those signs should not have been touched, but to extend the reach, because I haven't seen the complaint, I'd like to see that written complaint by Tom Wickham, if I get a copy of that, because as far as she said on the phone to me, it was only about the dump sign. So why did it go so far reaching? And why was it so biased? That really concerns me. Black Lives Matter signs being taken down. This is really getting out of control, and there's one way to fix it, and the suggestion was made in the ACLU letter. Within, fix it, get the signs back, apologize. I think we'd all be happy with it, and the right thing would be done. I'm asking you to do the right thing, and that's exactly what was suggested there. So and everybody, agent of the supervisor of this person, agent. She was a nice person to talk to. I think she had an error in judgment and act too rashly. She was overzealous in her enforcement of the law and skipped a step there. Should have notified us all. Before she went and trespassed. And I know about trespass, Patty. You and I know about trespass laws, right? So please, I didn't appreciate that she was on my property, taking it from my property. The other thing she pointed out, and I just want to put it in the record, is that she took all the dump signs, even the ones that were pro-dump. She explained to me that she had a lot of difficulty getting those signs off the electric poles or telephone poles. I think the electric company owns those. And we had a short discussion about that because I've worked in politics for many years, and I know no signs are allowed on those poles by anybody at any time because those poles are the property of the electric company. So why is our town official, again, being so overzealous and taking off property, caring about the electric company signs? That's not town property. Might have been in a right of way, but it's the property of the electric company. And she said she had a lot of difficulty because they were so high placed. And it almost sounded like she was really putting her life at risk to get those signs down. And they were put in with such building grade materials that it was very difficult to remove. And who put those signs up? Tom Wickham. So here we have Tom Wickham filing a complaint about the dump signs. Now our town official has to go out and take all these signs down, which he should have done, but in the process, she's risking her life to take down the signs that Tom Wickham himself put up on the electric company poles because he couldn't find any homeowners to put it on the lawns. No one want them. Thank you.
My name is Nate Peters, I'm president of the HRI, and the only thing I'm asking for is for the board to possibly recommend to the planning board unanimously, if possible, to return the signs and let it ASAP, as soon as possible. That's all, thank you.
Anybody else? Hearing, no comment. Our next regular meeting will be August the 3rd, here at 7 p.m. Does anybody have anything?
I'm sorry, I have one more thing to ask.
Okay, lady back.
Oh, sorry. It was unrelated to the signs.
Go.
Yes, I defer to the signs. She just reminded me. I just wanted to follow up on last week's, last meeting where I'd asked for the letter from town council about.
Did you get my email back?
I did, and I still feel like, we should be ready for that from town council. I guess we need more time, but I want to just go on the record and make sure I'm still
Okay.
earnest in looking for that response.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks. Tim?
I just wanted to say that when BJ Cummings came on my property and took the signs off of my personal property, she then offered some advice. She said, you can pick them up at town hall for $30 a piece. Extortion. I don't know what else to call it. But that's ridiculous, folks. And maybe you ought to think about correcting that, what she has told the public, $30 a piece. It's just unreal.
Thank you.
These were the signs that she removed in her PCD group, and it's a nonprofit group. It's not a political issue, and it's just freedom of speech.
Thank you. Anybody else? Last call. Can I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.